for tuning in to another fun episode with all three of us, your favorite MousekeMoms, Lori.
Hi.
Jennifer.
Hello.
And Juliana, that's me, but the real star of the show today is our special guest. We're super excited to have Sir Willow, George Burnash, with us today.
Good morning.
Very
Good morning.
excited.
Welcome.
Sir Willow has an amazing YouTube channel where he shares his behind the scenes experience as a former cast member, which I cannot wait to hear some cast member stories, the inside scoop with Walt Disney World, Silver Dollar City, and Busch Gardens. But first, as always, before we get into it with our special guest, we need to have our Mouska cocktail. George, would you do the honors, please?
Sure. Now, mine's a little different in that I'm not an alcohol drinker. So, but I do have a couple options. We were wonderfully blessed to get to go to Galaxy's Edge before all the COVID stuff, and went to Oga's Cantina. And I have to tell you, if you haven't had the Hyperdrive Punch, really liked the Hyperdrive Punch that they had. Is that
the one you had, Lori?
I think that's the one my kids had. Isn't that the one with all the bubbles that come up?
Yeah, the bubbles. They call it. Let's see. I'm looking at the deal here. It's Mountain Berry Blast with white cranberry juice, black cherry puree, and Sprite. And yes, it was really good.
It sounds really good.
It sounds good.
It was funny because we had a small group and everybody was trying different things, and that one was the most popular among our group.
And it's not pog juice, right? It's different.
Right.
So that's exciting. Yep. I'm going to try that.
I think and Oga's is, it's a bar, but it's a kid-friendly place. So people are always looking for things like, I'm bringing my kids to a bar. What are they going to have to drink? So this is great to have a tried and true beverage that is good for everyone.
My kids loved it, and I drank part of it and wouldn't really let go of it, but it was really good.
Good parenting.
It can be so hot in Hollywood studios, and Oga's is a great place to cool off, and if you just want to have something refreshing, yay, I'm excited to try it. I think I'm going to have that next.
And it was an excuse to get in.
Yes.
Because if you go in, you have to order something.
Right.
So
yes.
Right, because Oga's, you need to have a reservation, even though it's not a table service restaurant. You have to have a reservation, so you got to get something.
It's a hard one to get. Yeah,
awesome.
Cool.
But yeah, I was very pleased with it. It was good. It didn't last very long.
That's the dangerous thing of Oga's, because it's so expensive, and those drinks, all of them, go down so quickly.
That's true. Well, luckily, you're only allowed an hour and a half or something. How long are you allowed?
I think it was 90 minutes.
Oh, 90 minutes.
Yeah. Well, because if you think about it, I was wondering how they did that, right? Because it's not a table service restaurant, it's a bar. So there's no beginning and end to your service like there would be if you were having a meal. So I wondered how they did that, but 90 minutes.
Well, Disneyland, we definitely had a server, and she didn't put a timer on the table, but she did kind of make it very clear when we first got in, okay, this is your time. You have this much time.
I think they even put it on your drink order. I think they timestamp it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think an hour and a half is plenty, to be honest. It's a nice break. It gets you a drink, and then you're kind of refreshed and ready to go.
I was going to say, and I think
pilot the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, and I think they changed those times too, because I think when you and I were there, it was 50. And then when I went with my family in January, she told me 90, because I had kind of warned my husband. I thought it was like 50 minutes.
I thought it was 45.
We had an hour at Disneyland.
When it was long enough for me to leave you guys.
Yes.
Go in a cab to drop off my COVID test.
Yes.
And come back and find you, and still have time to have a drink. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So it must have been an hour and a half.
I don't know. I don't remember.
Good times with COVID tests.
I don't remember. Anyway, so I love it. I can't wait to get back to Oga's.
Me too.
Right.
All right. So, who wants to start? I'm so excited to hear all of George's stories about being a cast member because we've talked a lot about our cast members and how much we adore them. So, it's really cool to get that perspective from one in the flesh, so to speak.
Yeah, right.
I think we're pretty much going to quiz you here, George.
Yeah.
So
I'm up for it.
Yes. So we kind of said at the beginning.
Like a Jedi.
We kind of said at the beginning, George has a YouTube channel, Sir Willow. The part I love about it is I feel like your reviews are honest, but they're not negative. We love honesty. We're all about honesty on our podcast and telling it how it is, but there's a way of being too negative about things. So I really love how you do your reviews. And I know you do different ones from Walt Disney World to Silver Dollar City and Busch Gardens. But of course, being the MousekeMoms, we're going to concentrate on Walt Disney World. So I guess the first question is, we want to learn, you were a cast member. How long were you a cast member for? What did you do?
I was a PhotoPass photographer. I was there from 2006 to 2011. So I started about a year and a half, less than 2 years after PhotoPass first started. It started off at Epcot, and then they gradually expanded it. And I was part of the big expansion into all 4 parks. So I was in on the early stages of it, did 5 years of PhotoPass, worked at all 4 of the parks. In particular, Epcot and Magic Kingdom, did Hollywood Studios quite a bit. Animal Kingdom, not as much, only a handful of times. But I did resort dining. I did Santa Claus at Downtown Disney, which is now Disney Springs.
No.
I was one of the models, as scary as that is, for the water parks when they first started shooting that. Not so something I do now. But
what do you mean when they first started shooting that? Like for ads or for like what?
No, they did not used to have photographers at the water parks.
Right.
So when they decided they wanted to put photographers in the parks, one of the first things they have to do is, where do we shoot? What locations are we shooting from? What's the lighting like? How's the picture going to look? And so what we did was we would go play in the wave pool, or we would pose in different spots. How's this backdrop look?
That sounds like my kind of modeling. I like it.
Right? So basically, we had a number of spots where we just kind of stood there and let them take pictures. But then we had a few spots where we went and played a little bit, and while they tried to make sure they had the settings and everything right. So
did you get
that is a fun job. Yeah. Did you get to keep the picture?
That was just one. I was only part of a couple hours, and they actually did a bunch of others after that. So it was a process getting everything set up. But
do you have a photo album then from all your pictures?
Unfortunately, all of those we didn't get to keep.
Oh, too bad. They didn't load them onto your My Disney experience.
Yeah, see, that didn't exist at the time.
Right.
There was we were burning pictures onto CDs when I first started, and then we expanded to DVDs. But you could see your pictures online. Yes. But if you ordered them online, what you actually ordered was a CD or a DVD, and we would be up in an office backstage, because I got to do this a few times too, taking the orders and burning them onto the discs and then mailing the discs.
Wow. Things have changed.
It sounds like you did a lot of different things. So I'm curious if you can answer, how do you get assigned to your different stations or jobs?
It was a different world in a lot of ways with PhotoPass at the time, because it was new and we had so much going on. The main offices were over at Hollywood Studios. So when I've been at Magic Kingdom for 4 months before they have what they call bids. And you basically, depending upon how long you've been there and your seniority, you get to pick out your shifts. And at the time, you could pick which park you were at as well. Now I think you pretty much get locked into the park that you're at. But the shifts that I wanted at Magic Kingdom weren't available, so I went over to Hollywood Studios, where the main offices were for PhotoPass. And with that, oh, hey, you're here. we'll put you to work in the office. Hello, Kit. This is Turtle,
Kitty.
by the way, who thinks my laugh is hurt.
This is pretty. Did you have a favorite spot, and did you like being the person to print the DVDs? Because, that I would imagine is air conditioned.
We called it The View, where we sold the pictures and did the DVDs. And The View was okay. I liked being out shooting pictures.
And did you have a favorite spot to shoot pictures in all of Walt Disney World? Did you have a favorite spot to be a photographer?
I'm terrible about favorites.
Yeah.
In that choosing just one or two is very hard for me. I loved shooting at Magic Kingdom. There was just something magical about it. If you were going to get a proposal to happen, it was going to be at Magic Kingdom. If you were going to get a reunion of some sort. I had one time I was shooting on Main Street, large family, and as I'm shooting pictures of them, this guy walks up and essentially photobombs them. And so I stopped shooting, like, what are you doing? And they turn around and they all start yelling and screaming.
Aww.
I didn't know what was happening. I just realized, okay, this is something that's supposed to happen. So I started shooting again. And it was a family member they hadn't seen in a long time.
You got it all on.
So, but you would see that at Magic Kingdom. You wouldn't see it at the other parks as much.
Well, you just answered my next question, because I was going to ask you if you had a particular story that stuck with you, and I love that one.
Yeah, that was my question. Is I want to hear the best stories, because I'm sure taking the photos, you've seen a lot.
Oh my goodness, we saw. I like to tell people that if I did not cry behind the lens of my camera at least a couple times a week, it was an off week.
Wow.
We'd had Make-A-Wish come through a lot. And I'm going to warn you, I'm going to make you cry on this one. I was working at Toontown. Toontown at the time had 3 different rooms where you could go meet characters. Each room had 3 characters. You had the princess room that typically would have Cinderella, Belle, and Aurora. And then we had another room which would have Minnie and Goofy and Pluto. And then there was another room that would have various characters. As I was working one time, they let us know that they had somebody coming in from Make-A-Wish that was very sick. And so they were going to do something unusual, and they were going to actually close the rooms and bring all the characters into one room. I was like, and they brought him into mine. I was like, well, this is different. And so we had kind of our senior photographer, the one that had been there the longest, kind of took over, and the rest of us just kind of stepped back out of the way. And they brought this girl, I want to say she was probably around 12, 13, something like that. And she was in essentially a small portable hospital bed. She was hooked up to all sorts of stuff. And you could tell this girl was not doing well. And these characters came in and they just loved on her. And so, I mean, we were just stood in the back and out of the way, not being seen. And she's smiling and she's absolutely loving this. One of the neatest things I'd ever seen, because you don't see him empty the rooms very often and do stuff like this.
Yeah.
And that was awesome. And then she went on, like most Make-A-Wish kids, hey, so happy that you got this great experience. We'll see you later. A couple hours later, I had been on break and was coming out of break and walking to, we called them our base. It's basically our location where our manager is and all the equipment and everything. And as I started to walk by to get my next assignment to see where I was going, I realized that the equipment manager is crying. I'm like, what's wrong with you? What's going on? And she said, well, that girl that we had a couple hours ago, we just got a note that she didn't make it.
Oh.
And it was just like, so we got to see one of her last moments with all these characters.
Oh, wow.
That was hard to go in and shoot pictures afterwards.
Yeah.
So we had some of the characters that were backstage that when they weren't with the guests, you could see they were in the back, they'd heard. And lots of crying that day.
I can't even imagine. What a special moment, though.
It's bittersweet. It was so neat to see, but at the same time,
of course.
And it wasn't the only one like that. Several other photographers that worked with me at the time saw similar things. So
wow.
Make-A-Wish was the highlight, the best moments, but it was also some of the most heartaching.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
for sure.
I think that if I were to pick a job to have as a cast member, though, PhotoPass photographer is really high up there, because how special is it for you that you get to have all these really unique and cool experiences with guests? But also, I would imagine that you have some fun stories about working with some of the different characters. So, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Working with the characters in a lot of ways was the best part, because they're so unique. I tended to like working with what I called the brats, the ones that had the bit of attitude to them. So Chip and Dale,
Yeah.
Donald Duck. I didn't get to work with the fairies very often when they brought them in, but when I did, Video was the best, because she was a little snot, and it was just so much fun.
I imagine they give you a lot of material to work with.
Oh my goodness, yes.
See, Jen wants to be the photographer. I want to be the brat. That's
brat.
my dream Disney job. I want to be the brat.
But what's really neat is when you're the photographer, you get to help them be the brat.
Yeah.
So you get to kind of play the straight man, to be the butt of their jokes a lot of times. But you also learn to kind of listen and pay attention to what's going on with the guests in line. So that way you can feed material to them. For example, Donald Duck tends to be very jealous of Mickey, because it's Mickey's park. And at the time, Donald had actually been in more cartoons than Mickey. So if you've ever get Donald's autograph, most of the time he signs it as Donald Duck #1.
Right.
And so what we like to do is, hey, Donald, check out his Mickey ears. And Donald would take the Mickey ears and throw them on the floor and act like he's going to stomp on them. Or if they had one of the Mickey Mouse pens, not going to sign with that. And he'd come over and grab one of our pens. In fact, at the time, I don't know if you remember Toontown, it had a big banner up in the room that had all the characters on it. Donald got left off. Of all characters, for some reason, Donald was not on there. It literally had every other Disney character you could think of. And so Donald had actually lifted the banner and wrote on the wall underneath it, Donald Duck #1.
That's awesome.
So yes, he had fun with that when people would occasionally notice that, where's Donald? And he'd come stomping over and raise the banner and point. And, Stitch was hysterical. A lot of times.
Stitch. Love
Stitch is amazing. Between the flicking boogers and pulling out earwax, and the thing that was scary with Stitch is you had to be very careful, because as photographers, we all carried Sharpie pens, and I don't have one right now, but so if a character needed a pen to sign with, they'd, hey, here you go, got the pen ready. Stitch, my family could always tell when I had been working with him, because I would come home with Sharpie marks all over my arm, because he would never put the cap on or snap it closed. It was always stabbing me with my own pen.
Sounds like Stitch.
It does. That's cute. See?
I had actually read before my first trip with my kids that you should get one of those Sharpies that clicks back in, because the characters can't put the caps back on, and then the handlers get all full of marker and blah, blah,
and
blah.
they stab the PhotoPass photographer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you can get the clicky Sharpies, those are great. But yes, Stitch would take advantage of that.
It's a bonus mouse tip.
Yep.
There you go. That's awesome.
So I feel like we've gotten some inside tips about a few different things. I don't know. I don't really have a specific question about insider information other than tell me more. What other secret little things? What's your favorite secret that people can know but don't?
I don't know. See, that's tough. It's because there's so much information out there now, it's hard to have secrets anymore. Even the utilidors aren't a secret anymore.
No, you can go in them now.
Yeah. The best thing I could say is know the characters a little bit if you're going to meet them. I was surprised how many people would walk up and have no idea who they were.
Ooh, I have a question. then in relation to this, what are some of the best ways as a guest you can interact and be prepared to meet the characters? For example, my kids brought chocolate to Anna and Elsa. So like what are some of the best ones of those you've seen, or some of the more creative ones?
What I encourage people to do is to bring gifts for the characters. Just you said chocolate bars. We go out and the dollar box of candies. We tend to buy like 20 or 30 of them. So we've got plenty for the characters, and we bring those in. And for $1, the interactions that you get are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Last time I was there at Animal Kingdom with my daughter, Scrooge went on and on with her about this whole deal about Launchpad crashing the plane and causing Scrooge to have to get stuck there with Launch. I mean, this whole big deal because we gave him a box of candy.
I mean, those are the most memorable. Small. Those are the most memorable guests, I would imagine. You know, the ones who come prepared and who interact and have fun and play with it.
Well, and the characters, a lot of people don't realize how hard they work. Honestly, I think that may be one of the hardest jobs in the park. And so just a small little thing to say, hey, we appreciate what you're doing. Thank you for what you're doing. And they love it. And for all the cast members, I would occasionally get thank yous. I've kept every single one. So I've got a number of thank you notes. Even the little, you can look online, there's little pre-printed thank you for making magic cards you can print off and customize. And I've got a half dozen of those that people gave me while I was working.
I have a question though, because I've had so many wonderful character interactions, and then some that are just meh, not bad. Like I've never had a bad one, but are the characters ever just off? Like just not feeling it, I would imagine.
Oh yeah. Like, and it
or
happens.
Are there some that just aren't good at it?
There are. You have some. Okay, I had one time where Donald in Mexico was not feeling well and should not have gone out with the guests, but did anyways because we got to go make magic. And poor Donald apparently had mild heat stroke. And let's just say it was not a very memorable moment when Donald had to get off stage very quickly.
Oh my gosh.
So it does happen. And you do have the occasional one that shouldn't be there. When I very first started and PhotoPass was new with the characters, we had a couple performers that simply did not like us. We were in the way. We were obnoxious, even though we weren't. And there was one longtime Minnie Mouse who didn't like PhotoPass, didn't like photographers at all, wanted nothing to do with us. We called her Two Shot because all she would allow us to do was 2 shots. And if we took any more than that, no pictures of the autograph book, she would literally turn her back to us and hide the autograph book if we want to take pictures of it. If we wanted to get pictures of the hug, she would turn it so we couldn't do it. And
did
we
she realize that that's what the guests were paying for?
She didn't care.
Wow.
I can't even understand the logic.
She was approaching retirement and really didn't care a bit. She was there to get her hours in.
Minnie Mouse was a prima donna.
Yeah. And after a few months, she just kind of disappeared, and we don't know if she retired or she was told to retire or what. But yeah, she was a pain. That she stands out as the worst one I ever had to deal with. Most of them are really good. But yeah, you get times where you have to go work and you just don't feel like working.
I would say especially the characters that are not in full head costume. Like, right. Our favorite character interaction was Tinkerbell. Tinkerbell had so much energy all the time. Bouncing around with my kids. She played with my kids for like 8 minutes, hide and seek, just everywhere.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
And I'm just like, the amount of energy you have to have. And she can't hide behind a mask with her facial expressions. And to me, that just, it amazed me on just person after person, just her energy just kept up. And I was like, human wise, you think at some point there would be one time you'd be like, all right, I need a break.
Because she's a fairy.
Do they get to like trade out every half hour so they can keep perky?
Depending upon where they are, they will switch out. If they're outside, they will switch out more often than if they're inside. So for characters on hot days, they'll only be out there for about 20 minutes at a time, and then they will switch with somebody else. If you are a face character like Tinkerbell, and you're inside, you're probably doing an hour at a time. And so you'll be an hour on, and then you'll be an hour off, and somebody else will step in. So they do get to switch, and when they get into the break room after that hour on, it's...
An hour is a long time
it
to be in character.
At Silver Dollar City, I was a train robber and conductor. And so essentially I was a face character there as well, and performing. And it's exhausting. It is fun. It is amazingly fun to do. But yes, you're pouring yourself out into that character. And then when you do get the break, it's just like, oh my goodness.
I can't even imagine like holding a smile for that long.
Right?
It's not as hard as you might think, though, because you have so much fun doing it.
That's true.
And then when you see the guests respond and they're smiling and happy, how can you not help but smile when they do?
I'm sure that helps, yeah.
But here's a funny little thing for you with the fur characters, because they've always got the smile plastered on their face. And when you take a picture, you pose for a picture, you automatically smile. Well, so do they, even though you can't see them.
I'm sure.
I would say it's just like now with the mask. Yeah. I'm smiling under the mask, and I'm like, I don't need to smile under the mask, but it makes your eyes go up.
Well, yeah, I'm hoping that people
the mask can't see. But
right.
I had a number of them that said, it's the funniest thing. The camera goes up, and you just smile naturally, even though they can't see.
But even like that smile helps. I mean, they're in character still, even though you can't see their face. So it helps with their whole posture and how they're carrying themselves, I'm sure.
But it was just a funny thing to think about. And like, yeah, okay.
It's fun. Oh my God.
So you brought up Silver Dollar City. So you worked there as well. You said you were one of the conductors. I'm not familiar with Silver Dollar City. So what?
Silver Dollar City is... It's set in Silver Dollar City, set in the 1880s. So if you think kind of Old West after the Civil War, it is in the middle of the Ozarks. So it's got a hillbilly culture to it. So that's kind of what, if you think about the old hillbillies, that they really play that up. So with the train ride, you've got the conductor that does the narration all the way around. And again, it's the hillbilly bit. Well, over there is Powder Keg. That's our rocket coaster. It launches from 0 to 45 in 3.2 seconds. It was so scary, I about fainted. and so you do this kind of thing the whole way around the train. Well, halfway around, the train stops because you've got Alfie and Ralphie Bolin, the two notorious train robbers, who stop the train, and they proceed to do this ridiculous train robbery skit. We just stopped the train to warn you about Yankees. Up around the bend, you got 9 of the biggest, meanest, ugliest Yankees you never done saw. They've all got these huge woodwork clubs, and they're swinging and a-swatting, but don't you worry, they can't hit nothing. These New York Yankees.
Oh, my gosh.
It's 15 minutes of that kind of shtick.
It would have been a great jungle cruise.
You would have been a great jungle cruise. What was skipper? You would have been a great skipper. Did you ever get to do that?
And I tell people that if I hadn't been doing PhotoPass, of the top 5 jobs, jungle cruise skipper would have been one of them.
Oh, you would have been good. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the dad jokes. That's awesome.
It really is. Dad jokes before they were dad jokes. And we had so much fun with it. But yeah, it definitely played that up. And even Rhino Rally, which is what I did at Busch Gardens. Mm-hmm. The Rhino Rally drivers were also, the whole time, we joked that it was Jungle Cruise on land.
Right.
It's one stupid joke after another. The flamingos. Okay, anybody know where the flamingos get their color from? From what they eat, right? So what happens if you give them a pack of Skittles? Taste the rainbow.
That's funny.
So yeah, just stuff like that. So it makes it fun. Hey, I can be paid to be a goofball.
Yeah, exactly. Again, I imagine that's hard to be on for a while, but I guess it helps if you're interacting with the customers and you're interacting with the other actors, and I guess that would make time go a little bit faster. And feed off
the
each
days
other.
would fly.
Yeah.
But of course, once we stepped off, Rhino Rally would be 5 trips around. I believe Jungle Cruise does the same thing. With the train, we were 15 minutes on, and then we'd be off for about 10 minutes. And in those spots in between, you're just, okay, recharge. Get the caffeine in. And
So as a former cast member, do you have a favorite park in Disney that you must visit every time?
Believe it or not, I don't.
That's like another one of those favorite questions.
And if I had absolutely had to pick a favorite Disney park, it would probably be Disneyland in California.
Oh, yeah.
It just, there is so much character to it that comes from Walt himself that you don't find at the other parks.
The nostalgia, yeah.
Yeah. Everywhere you turn, Walt's hand is on it.
You just feel.
If I expanded a bit on that, I don't know if you've ever been to Disneyland Paris, but just an absolutely gorgeous park. Oh my goodness, it was beautiful. I haven't been to Japan or China yet, but hoping to go. But Disneyland Paris was just amazing to just plain walk around. Forget the rides, forget everything else. It was so beautiful.
George, I'm an annual pass holder at Disneyland Paris.
So you know what I mean then.
I don't want to make you jealous, but
I got to spend a week. It was an unexpected gift.
Tell me about what you did there for a whole week. I happen to live in Paris, so I actually go for the day, before COVID when it was open. But tell me what you did spending a week there, because I'm, for a lot of us locals, it's just it's a day thing. It's an easy train ride for the day.
See, I'm weird in that people would say Hollywood Studios at one point was a half-day park. I could spend a whole day there easy and still have stuff to do.
Right. Yeah.
I have, like I said, I spent several hours just walking around the park, doing nothing but taking pictures and video and just enjoying it and watching.
It's really beautiful.
It's the first Disney park I've been to that it had places that had nothing except walking paths. It was really neat. It's like, wow, I can just wander around the pirate caves for a while. You can get lost in the pirate caves because the kid that was with us did.
I think I might have once or twice too.
Yeah.
I visited it over and over and over again. I've just never actually spent the night. And so that's different.
Night. It's the photographer in me. Yeah. Night is beautiful time. Perfect time. Get the tripod out and just start taking pictures.
Yeah, that castle's gorgeous.
Oh my goodness, it's beautiful. And then of course the dragon underneath.
Love the dragon.
Yes. If I don't know if the other two have been to Disney Paris or not, but
we haven't. We were trying to get out there to visit Juliana there, but COVID keeps stopping us.
It is a neat park, and I know you will hear some Americans tell you, oh, those French, they're rude. Learn a few words of French. I had more great cast interactions with them out there, just with the simple and my terrible American accent, walking in and saying, bonjour. They would light up. Oh, he's actually nice enough to greet us in French. But at the same time, you could see what I call the ugly Americans. You could spot them. Oh my goodness, they stood out.
So I haven't had that experience because I haven't seen an American in a year and a half, but or a year, I guess, right? So that's cool. But from my perspective, I like to go there when it was open. It's closed right now. I liked to go there as sort of like a guaranteed friendliness factor, because you're right. People in France are very, very nice. People are, and if you try to speak the language, they're lovely. But sometimes when you're just trying to like buy groceries and you can't understand anything, you need a little break. So I would go there for my little bit of America, because they would let me speak French to them. And then if I didn't understand, they would speak English to me. And everyone was just so nice all the time. And they would pretend to understand my terrible French because it is still Disney. They're going to take care of you. So I would go there just to get a little bit of like guaranteed no pressure conversation with people I can't talk to.
Yeah. And we actually found at the time, because we knew we were going to be there for 6 days, we went ahead and we bought annual passes.
Yeah.
So I don't have it now, but I was an annual pass holder.
See, look at what we have so much in common.
But I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I'd love to get back. My one regret was that I wasn't with my wife at the time. I was like, oh, I wish she could have seen it.
Oh.
But it was a
again?
special deal where one of my viewers offered the trip, and I was like, I'm not going to say no.
Wow, that's fantastic. What year was this? Did you say? When was it?
It was 18.
Okay.
17 or 18. I think it was 18.
Well, I think you should plan to come back maybe 2022. I think they're going to be done with a lot of the changes they've been making to Walt Disney Studios and stuff like that. And there's going to it will really be a several day park, even just to see any of it. But I'm excited for that. But I'll be gone.
Yeah. Yeah, the new Frozen Land and the Star Wars and the Marvel and oh yeah.
Is it 2022 or is it 2023 even?
Originally, they said 22. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets delayed with all this.
Yeah.
So
along with everything else.
I was going to say, along with everything else. Oh, well. So do you have any big plans for the 50th anniversary coming up? Do you have anything on your wish list that you want to do?
I wish. After it had been almost 10 years, and then my viewers all chipped in and made a return trip to Walt Disney World happen. And I actually ended up in the course of 2 years with like 5 trips due to various things, which was amazing. Yeah. But I'm almost kind of afraid that we ended up doing our bit with Florida for a while. And so as much as I would love to go back, it's probably going to be other places for a bit.
That's not too shabby either.
No, I mean, I can't complain. I mean, I didn't expect any of them and to end up with 5 trips. And again, we had another viewer. I've been so blessed by my viewers.
That's great.
And my supporters. But I had one that treated us in October of 2018 to staying at Animal Kingdom Lodge and covered Not So Scary for us and stuff. And
wow.
It was like a dream trip.
That's so great.
Awesome.
So if you could go anywhere.
Japan.
I was just gonna say Tokyo Disney Sea, that one. Yes, me too.
My daughter's getting ready to go to Japan for 6 months. And my initial plan had been, before COVID, when we knew that this trip was going to happen, was that I was going to take her over and use it as my excuse to get a week in Japan and go to Tokyo Disney and to Disney Sea, and COVID has completely messed that up.
Is it just postponed, or is it something that, like, is there a possibility this could ever happen in the?
She's hoping long term to eventually move to Japan, so it is something that maybe later
it'll come. It'll happen.
We've got another big trip coming up this summer, hopefully. That basically the funds that would have gone to Japan are probably going to go to that trip instead. But maybe a couple years down the road, I desperately would love to get to Japan.
It looks amazing.
I would say Japan's awesome. I love Japan. I didn't get to go to Tokyo Disney because I was there for college for parts, but Japan's amazing. It's amazing.
Just the food looks really cool. It's so beautiful. The things they do with the dumpling.
I was going to say the food is amazing there. A little bit different than I think what we're used to American Japanese, but the food was better. It's amazing. I love Japan.
Someday we'll have to do a Mouska trip. We'll call George and have him come along.
There we go.
Hey, I'll be happy to do it.
We'll need a chaperone.
So, well, in that case, my wife would have to come because she has to chaperone me.
Sounds like a deal.
Yeah,
that's a deal. Well, thank you so much for coming to talk to us today. I think we all learned a lot.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been fun.
I think our appropriate Mouska tip of the day is that we definitely encourage everyone to get those memory makers because, I mean, we love our PhotoPass photographers. I think it's a fantastic deal. If you purchase it at least 3 days in advance, it's only $169, and that's, your memories on film are priceless. So,
and mom gets to be in the picture.
And mom gets to be in the picture. Right? That's such a huge, huge reason why we always get PhotoPass or Memory Maker when we go, because that's the only way I'm in pictures.
Yeah, you can get everybody in.
It's my proof of life.
You also get to interact with great cast members like George here.
Yes,
right?
I love it.
Great cast members don't have to be in costume, right? Like,
no, absolutely.
Now, here's the cast member in me.
Technically, you're in a costume, right?
Because
they all have a role to play.
Exactly. I knew that was coming. As soon as it came out of my mouth, I was like, he wore a costume. Anyway, I don't want to put you on the spot, George, but do you have a tip that you'd like to give our listeners?
The biggest thing I would say is not just the characters, but every cast member, smile, say thank you, be nice.
Yes.
You'll find that the cast members with simple things like that will go even further beyond what they normally do when you just do something simple. I loved when guests, because I was surprised how many guests would not do that. But yeah, just be nice to them and you'd be surprised what you might be able to get.
We totally agree. We've said that before. You've heard it from the horse's mouth, folks. Cast member equals magic maker.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Every time.
Thank you so much.
Yes, George, thank you. Thanks for spending another episode with us. Make sure to check out George on YouTube at Sir Willow. We will post links on our social media page as well. We'd love to hear from our listeners, so please leave us a comment and tell us what your dream job would be at Disney. We would love to hear that. And of course, for the latest news out of Disney, don't forget to visit our blog at MousekeMoms.com and join our group on Facebook at Disney Planning and Chat by MousekeMoms.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.